she doesn't belong to this class, as proud as Cornelius. And here we have the reference for Cornelius. Cornelius is one of the characters in Shakespeare plays. Even her tones of voice, even the way of talking, her way of saying sir, honors means sir when she responds to Bounderby, as if she is glorifying herself rather than her master. The other thing that is related to her is her jealousy of Louisa, which becomes later on as an obsession, something psychological that turns her to be nervous. And this begins in this scene where Bounderby speaks possessively of Louisa as little Bus, little Bus. But my question is why Mrs. Sparset is jealous of Louisa? Yes, Mustafa.
Sir, I guess because she is married to a rich person.
Yes. Yes. What else? What do you think the other reason?
I'm not sure.
So what do you think the reasons that comes to your mind and makes Mrs. Bassett jealous of Louisa? Yes, Benin?
Yes, sir. I think because she loves him and wants
She is what, Benin?
loves him.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, it could be. But there is no reference here in the novel. But when we analyze the novel, it could be يعني a probable or possible reason for that kind of jealous. Yes, what else? Thank you, Benin. بس المفروض انت البنات هاي تلقفونها لقف. Yes, Mustafa. Yes, Aida. So, why do you think, or what are the reasons that make Mrs. Sparset feel jealous of Louisa? Hamida, yes.
Yes, I think because she loved the man that married him.
She wants to marry Bounderby, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it could be. We have said this. Yes, Riyam. Thank you, Hamida.
Yes, sir, because Mr. Bonderby praised Louisa front. Yes, just.
Okay, thank you very much. Zainab?
Yes, because she loves her and the smart man.
Yeah, okay.
Smart
Yeah.
building. Yeah.
You know, you are talking about, or you have thought about only one reason, possible reason. I mean, the highest one. Yeah, you can say that the possible reasons of jealousy between the two is that Mrs. Sparset believes that Louisa's marriage from Vanderby will turn all the wealth of Vanderby into Louisa. And Bounderby, as we know till now, he doesn't have any wife, he doesn't have any children. And she expects that after his death, all the wealth is going to be inherited by Mrs. Sparset. But now we have another one who is Louisa. This is the one of the reasons. The other reason that is probable or possible is that she may love that person without disclosing any information for him, without telling him without even showing anything for the readers, but we can conclude when you feel, for example, jealous towards someone, there should be a reason. Either you, for example, you hate him, or you love him. If there is competition, I mean, when you hate, there is competition. For example, the two students at the same class, they feel jealous of each other because of the competition. Each one wants to be better than the other, and this is, we call it just competition, and this gives us what a kind of jealousy. But in case of Mrs. Bassett and Louisa, it is different. There are two reasons. She's afraid that the wealth is going to be inherited by Louisa, and the second one, we may expect that she loves Bounderby. Okay. So, and Bounderby, even here, also another question about Bounderby. Why do you think he wants to marry Louisa? What reasons come to your mind? Yes, Mustafa?
Yes, sir. I guess because he wants to take her money, the money that inherited from her father, to take over the money.
No, Mustafa, because you know, for Bounderby is filthy rich. Filthy rich is very, very rich. And he's not in need for the money of Grad Grind. Yes, Fatma?
Yes, I think because she was a beauty lady and the youngest, and he was loved her since her child, because he was a friend of her father.
So because you said that because she is a young and a beautiful,
yes, a young lady and beautiful.
And he wants
yes.
a child.
لا he was يعني with know her from child.
Yes.
Because he's a friend of his father.
Yeah.
Her father.
Yes, thank you, Fatma. Yes, what else, Zainab?
Yes, doctor. He thinks it's suits her and they have some trust in common.
You know, just to give you a hint, just a clue. The reason is not related to anything you have said. The reason is related to Bounderby himself, his nature. Yes, Riyam? Riyam, do you have anything to say?
No, sir.
Okay, your hand is raised. Okay, so the reason is that because Bounderby doesn't love anyone. He loves only himself, and he is the real representative of utilitarianism, of the self-interest philosophy. He's only after his benefits. So when he wants to marry Louisa, he wants to take her as what? As a thing, not a woman. To possess, possess, to own something, to have something, as he has factories, as he has houses, as he has money, etc. It is something, not a woman. You got the point? Am I clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Clear.
Okay. So Bounderby speaks possessively of Louisa as little boss. His words about taking Tom under his wing, and this is a quotation, means what? I prepare for future developments. We will have future developments that Tom is going to rob the bank. And Bounderby, Tom, urged his sister Louisa to marry Bounderby. Why? Because he is motivated by his selfishness. He wants to take benefit from his sister, I mean, to make her a bait for snaring, for hunting Bounderby. And here there is an irony in that point. Why? Because Bounderby wants to take Tom under his wing, but the truth that Tom is going to ruin and steal his bank. Bounderby and Gradgrind are contrasted. What do you think that? Let me just read. Zainab, you are talking about whom? Because no one has ever engaged to her. Zainab.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, what are you talking about? This about
I
Louisa
think that you are.
or about Mrs. Sparset?
Yes, please.
Louisa? No. No, not that reason, Zainab. So what do you think the difference between Bounderby and Gradgrind? Yes.
Friend?
What is the difference? They are from the same school, but they are different.
Sorry, Doctor.
Yes, Ade, sorry.
Difference about Gradgrind represent education and Bounderby about money, a rich man. This reason.
Thank you, Ade. Thank you.
Thank you.
Riam?
Yes, sir. Bonderby is a psycho person and selfish, and he wants to get anything he wants. But Mr. Bonderby have emotions about
بالعكس خاف ريام.
yes, Gradgrind emotions.
Yeah.
To somebody
Yes,
with
you said Bounderby.
yes,
Yes.
Gradgrind.
Okay.
Somebody with Sissy, yes, and
Yes.
Bonderby
Thank you.
a psycho person.
Yes, thank you. What else? What do you think the difference between them? How they are different? Okay. Bounderby has no sympathy for anyone. For anyone, as I told you, for himself. And he is the radical, the extremist, the villain of the novel. He cares only for himself, the benefits for himself. That's all. While Gradgrind, also from the same school, but he's different. I mean, he shows us some signs of sympathy, some sort of feelings towards others, which makes him what? Gentle, tenderer, not like Bounderby. He cannot guess that what a failure his training will be, how he will come to depend on the very qualities of imagination and sympathy, especially in Sissy, which ironically he wants to suppress. He doesn't. Both of them fight imagination. But again, Gradgrind has a family and has a school, and he wants to impose or to apply his rule on both the school and the family. For Bounderby is the tough and the rigid representation of the whole age. I mean, the whole age at that time, Victorian age, which makes him a very baron that never looks for any other aspects of life unless, as I told you, his interest. Chapter 8 is entitled Never Wonder. Never wonder. And you know, the title here is expressive, means something. Never wonder means never ask. Never ask. No wonder. When you wonder, you will ask. And when you ask, you will get information. When you get information, you will enlarge, you will make your mind works. And this is what they were afraid of. They don't want the minds of the workers work, to think imaginatively, to think outside their factories. Okay, so this is the reference here for never wonder. The sense of wonder is to be stamped out in young and old, should be taken. But for Louisa, cannot help wondering about the future. In the chapter, she will think about future, wondering. When we say wondering, we means thinking, asking. And also here in this chapter, Tom wants to use his sister's influence with the Vanderbilt. The keynote linking Grant's philosophy and Coketown's heartlessness is struck again with the phrase, never wonder. Gradgrind has taught Louisa never to do so. To do what? To wonder. Gradgrind is afraid, and see here, afraid that workers may be reading literature in Coketown's library. Why he is afraid? Why do you think he's afraid that the workers will read? Why? I have already said it. Yes, Mustafa?
Yes, sir. I guess because if they read, they will be educated and they knew ways to get out of the factories and start their works and how to.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. You know, it is something non. يعني ما تحتاج لها صفنون لها صفنة. When you read something, you will acquire new information. You will get something. And this thing is going to activate your minds. And when your minds are activated, you are going to think about your conditions. You are going to think about your rights. And you are going to inquire, question the factory owners. Why do we, for example, we live in such conditions, bad conditions? Why? We have rights. You are going to talk to him. We have rights, and there will be a kind of revolt, uprising, protest. You are going to protest to ask for, to demand your rights. And this is the great threat, the source of a threat for Gradgrind and Bounderby. And both of them, they are representing what? The total age, the whole age of that time. Louisa and Tom are unhappy under their father's system also, which is stunning, killing imagination and feelings. And here we notice that Louisa sits at the fire, staring at the fire. And fire here, when you sit, especially in winter, when it is cold, and you looked at the fire and the warmth that gives, your mind is going to take you away of the place you are sitting in. You are going to think. And when you think, thinking is what? Is a kind of imagination, which is forbidden in Gradgrind's house. But this happens for Louisa. She is taken by imagination, wandering in the stronghold, in the castle of the one who believes in facts and figures and statistics. So he's already planning to use Louisa to help him manage Vanderbilt. Looking into the flames, Louisa wonders aloud that hurt by her mother about their future. And her mother reminds her that wonder is forbidden. There is no wonder in this house. So fire here is a symbol that is linked with the smoke in the novel's vision of Cooktown. You remember the smoke of the town? And its characterization. Fire comes to signify, to mean wonder and passion in Louisa's mind. And this scene also prepares the readers for a dramatic and moving moment when she says, "Fire burst out, father." Fire, this is quotation. Fire burst out, father. Burst means explosion, which means that she has reached, for Louisa, she has reached her limit. She cannot afford, she cannot bear this kind of a pressure. She cannot live in such deprived conditions. And now fire burst out, explodes. Fire means here, as I told you, is imagination. She no longer able to control her imagination and feelings. Louisa's love for Tom is still that has survived, is sincere, on the contrary to Tom himself, who is selfish and uses his sister as a bait. And he judged himself as what? As a donkey. Tom judges himself as being donkey. This is also a quotation. Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is talking about Sissy's progress. And this also, the title is referring to her development in education. And Sissy, as you know, is an imaginative girl, student. She has no appetite for figures, statistics, and other stuff. So her progress in the school, in the model school of Gradgrind, is too slow. And naturally, when you love something, you will get high marks, and vice versa. If you hate something, you will not get it. You are even going to fail because you don't like the topic, maybe, or you don't like the teacher. Both cases, you are not going to pass. So she makes little progress at school. She cares more about human suffering than about statistics. She asks for the basic principle of political economics. This is a topic in the school. She says, this is a quotation, "To do unto others as I would they should do unto me." And this quotation is very close in meaning to the Prophet's hadith, peace be upon him and his household, when he says, "عامل الناس كما تحب أن يعاملوك." This is exactly the meaning of Louisa Sissy's quotation. She says, I want to treat people as I treat them. With the opposite of expected answer. They expect another answer. For example, they expect to talk about self-interest, the benefits. She cannot calculate the percentage of people involved in a disaster. Why? Because she sympathizes with the victims too much rather than with the figures. And for example, when you are asked to count, for example, the casualties, the killed people in disaster, you cannot prevent yourself from sympathizing with them. You are going to be attracted by the disaster itself, the accident itself, rather than the number. When you talk about those people, died people, as numbers, 1, 2, 3, you are dehumanized the victims in the accident, in that accident. But our nature sympathizes with them rather than consider them as what? As numbers. And this is what happens to Sissy. She says, I sympathize with the victims rather than consider them as percentage figures. She tells Louisa how stupid she is. And Louisa is very interested in Sissy's memories of the circus. And this is going to spoil her, not spoil in the bad sense. According to her father, even talking about the memories is forbidden, especially in the circus and storybooks. Mrs. Gradgrind worries over all things. She is never to hear the last of it, but her husband's eye, a wintry piece of fact. This is a quotation. Wintry piece of fact, which means that he hates this issue very much. I mean, to talk about the books and the circus. The satire here we have a satire. In this chapter, we have satire, criticism, which is directed remorselessly at several targets. The goals of this are self-interest and calculation. How is that? We have Tom, who calculates mostly on behalf of number one. Who is number one? It is himself. And this is self-interest, selfishness, because he's not different from Mr. Bounderby. He's similar, exactly the same thinking. He considers himself that this is most important rather than other people. Even he is ready to use his sister for his end. Ironically, his growing selfishness is logically consistent with his father's utilitarian theory. And again, he is also similar to his father, who believes in the theory of utilitarianism, which we have talked in the previous lectures, and which is criticized, satirized by Dickens here, which this theory focused on self-interest, the personal benefits, and getting interest by enemies, and neglect what? Humanitarian principles, humanitarian criteria. And one principle of this theory is human affairs can be measured in statistical templates. For example, averages, percentage. And another principle is that the fundamental principle in economics is self-interest. While emotions and sympathies have no place in this theory, Sissy's failure stresses ironically the wrongness of its teaching. This is a proof for us, for Gradgrind school, the system of teaching. Why? Because it fails to teach Sissy. And again, Dickens here takes allegory from certain novel, which is called Pilgrim's Progress, which talks about Christian life. Sissy's presence in Gradgrind's house has brought circus memories, as I told you, in the castle of hard facts. And this is something very new and very important. As if you are, for example, talking about, let us say, something forbidden, a topic, a subject which is forbidden. You don't have the right to speak about this, but Sissy is talking in the castle of hard facts, where they function as secret agents. Fathers A, they call it Fathers A. Means what? Secrets. And Sissy whispered the awful word, a clown. A clown is something related closely to whom? To circus. Something related to circus and what is forbidden. In chapter 5, the narrator always draws our attention to the need for wonder and imagination when he compares Gradgrind children to factory workers. He explains for us that both the children and workers have fancy in them, and this is true. This is something cannot be controlled. Even if we don't talk, like what we have sometimes, we have opinions, we have emotions, we have tendencies towards people, but we cannot say it. So we keep them for ourselves in our hearts. The same exactly for the children and for the workers. The workers have their imagination, have fancy in their mind, each one according to his ability. The circus here, the circus entertainers, are the most obvious representatives of fancy. The entertainers possess the ability to transform, not like Gradgrind. Gradgrind is turning everything into gray. You know gray? Something boring, something that is lifeless, without life. But the entertainers possess the ability to transform the colorless, humdrum world into a place of magic and excitement. By what? By imagination. Imagination is the magic stick for the entertainers in the circus, as we have in any movie on TV. In the movie, we are for sometimes very excited, want to follow minute after minute the movie, and we don't want to leave it. Very attracted to that movie. What does create that attraction? Is it, for example, the fact, the number of scenes, the number of episodes, the number of minutes? Definitely no. What creates this kind of atmosphere and attracted us is the imagination, is the acting. All of them are included in what is called fancy. the other character is grad grind. Grad grind. Okay.
It's, I want to the tingle among them.
To differentiate between them,
Yes,
to know the differences between them.
yes, بينهم مصلحة. هيك.
زينب والله هذا يعني سؤالك مو يعني سؤال ما جاي افتهم شو تريدين من عندي.
استاذ اكو بيناتهم يعني مصلحة، يعني اريد افهم هذا الشيء شنو.
اكيد مصلحه وكوستا
إيه.
كل شيء بيناتهم. Yes, there is. I'm telling you, bounded by.
I will write in the chat.
Yes, I get you.
Or
Bounded by is trying to marry, like what I've told to Riam, to marry Louisa. As what is not a matter of love, but it is a matter of having something new. Having something new. He considers he dehumanized people. I mean, turns people into machines or treat them like non-human. For example, insulting them, make them working 24 hours. They are living in the bad condition. But from the grad grind aspect or side, the marriage is what we call it, marriage of interest. Marriage of interest. Grad grind agrees to marry his daughter to Bandarbai because he thinks that this marriage is going to fix things between him and Bandarbai. He is going to get something from him, financial, economic, because their mentality, their thinking, way of thinking, they are talking about what? About getting benefit from each other. You got the point, Zainab?
Yes, دكتور with you.
Yes, this is the idea. So it is what we call it in Arabic يعني زواج مصلحة. Grad grind. He wants to marry his daughter to Bandarbai because it is a marriage of interest. To strengthen his relation with Bandarbai. And this is it really existed in our time. We have so many people, they give their daughters, sisters, etc. to marry them, not for the sake of love or sometimes because you like that person, but it is interest, al-maslaha. It is
interest in, even in the police, not in the marriage.
Yes. It is not your interest in the person himself. No, your interest in what does that person have. You are looking after that marriage because Mr. Gradgrind, when Louisa marries Bounderby, she's going to be the inheritance. You know the inheritor, the الوريث يعني. That she is going to inherit everything from him. And this is the plan in the minds of Gradgrind. I hope I'm answering your question, Zainab. Any
Yes,
other
doctor.
question, please?
Understand.
Any other question?
no, thank you, sir.
Okay. Hold a moment just to turn off the recording.